Hello, it's me. It's Innocent again. It's me again. We are still on the CRDB Bond program, the Kijan Bond program. Again, just to remind you that CRDB is in targeting to raise $300 million. That is around 720, and change on top, you know, billion shillings. Now that depends if the exchange rate remains the same, but if it changes you know, in favor of shillings, then that means the amount of money that could be raised could be less, and vice versa. So we have looked pretty much about a lot about this particular bond with regard to the information memorandum that have been circulated. Now, we have arrived almost at the very end. So we are at the tail end of this series of this particular information memorandum, and we hope that as an investor you have been following us up on various information that you have been giving out, and you will have several questions that you would want more details on, and we'll be more than happy to give you those answers. Then of course now let's so since we are at the very end, so let's take a look at the pricing supplement of the first tranche, and then we'll take a little bit look at the valuation. So let us get into it. Yeah, so the pricing supplement. Now, this is kind of talking about what I have already talked about before. It's basically, one second, please. So this is 40 billion. So you don't confuse it. That was like 40 million. So that is 40 billion. So there you have your 40 billion. Yes, there you have your 40 billion and a green shoe option of 15 billion shillings. So this is the amount that CRDB is raising in this quarter. And the interest rate that is which is fixed, is 10.5%. And the default rate is, interest rate, which is 10.5% plus 1%, which is 11.5%. The tenure is 5 years. And the currency in this particular tranche is Tanzanian shillings. The minimum subscription amount is 500,000 shillings, or 500,000 shillings, if you want. And the subscription is as par. So this bond doesn't sell at below or above its issue price. So everyone is going to subscribe at par or at the given price. So the issue date is the Monday of the 23rd. So this is basically the day when the bond becomes effective, and the payment date with the last is the same date. So the interest rate payment frequency is going to be semi-annual, and that is you receive money on the 23rd of April and the 3rd of October each year from 2024 to 2028. The participants or the investors, target investors, are the general public, which is basically retail, that is me and you, and as individual investors, and institutional investors. So these could be corporations, insurance companies, other banks, non-financial institutions and stuff like and the like. The tax, this particular tranche is tax exempt. So if you subscribe to this bond and then it will be listed on the Russian Stock Exchange, you will your income, the income that you generate from in form of interest or coupons, will not be subject to the holding tax, which is currently 10%. But then your capital gain will be taxed. So since this bond is going to be listed on the Russian Stock Exchange, then if you are going to subscribe for 10 million, there is a potential for this bond value to rise from 10 million to say 11 million, 12 million. So if you make money atop of the money you invested first, then you're going to aim in, to that difference is going to be taxed, and it will be taxed according to the existing tax law. So use of proceeds is defined in the in the Green Social and Sustainability Fijian Bond Framework. So the bond framework has all the details of where the money is going to be invested, um, whether it's going to be the green project or social projects or sustainable projects or a mix of both. But definitely the framework has defined quite in detail of where the money is going to be invested. But just so you understand, it's going to be money into the projects that aim to enhance, to enhance climate resilience and adaptability, and improve the social, social livelihoods of the community, as well as enhance sustainability of the community, of the ecosystems and the like. The last bit is on the valuation. So now this is one of the area that is always very much contested, and everyone will just come up with an answer. But so what I did is basically I took the when I was calculating this, I did quite an assessment of, if I was to invest money today, where else would I put my money in? So there are so many options. So one would be investing in treasury bonds, which are basically government bonds, or looking for other opportunities in the market that are either better than better, that would bring a better return than this one. So it's basic, it's the simple economic concept of opportunity cost. So if I were to invest somewhere else, where would I invest? Now I made a choice and used a 25-year treasury bond. But then of course someone else might use 15 years treasury bond, 10 years treasury bond, or 5 years treasury bond, and then of course 20 years treasury bond. So depending on the risk analysis, but then so if whichever alternative is picked as the suitable for the investor, that is said to be the minimum required return, and therefore the yield to maturity. So I picked the 25-year yield to maturity, which was kind of an average of that day's trading trading results of the 25-year treasury bonds. So I picked like there were around 10 of them. So I did an average, and it was around 13.35%. But also, if you check the yield curve as it exists, I think the 25-year treasury bond yield is around 13%. So that is what I picked. The 10-year is 5 years, and the frequency is twice a year. The yield to maturity is 13.35%, and therefore, and the semi-annual, the semi-annual is 6.5%. So basically, what I did was just to calculate the present value of the future cash flows of this bond, and the value came down to say 5.9 billion as opposed to 40 billion shillings. So if you're an investor who would want not to invest in this particular bond, but rather invest in a 25-year treasury bond, this is how you'd weigh your options. So you just say, hey, instead of just investing in something that is worth almost that is around 4.1 billion less, why wouldn't you invest in something that is complete, which is a 25-year treasury bond? Now this is complete a choice, and anyone can just arrive at different valuation depending on the yield to maturity that they use, and therefore this is not like this is not conclusive, I would say. But then if you are an investor who would want to invest in a 25-year treasury bond, this is the result you most definitely get using the existing yield to maturity rates. But then, of course, you might want to do your own calculations and weigh your own risks and see whether you want to invest in this. But again, the value of this bond is quite good, and the rate of return is really very good. 10.5% is really very good. So yeah, so those are the details that we wanted to cover for you with regard to the CRDB medium-term note program or the Kijan bond. And we have covered quite substantial across all the key information that we thought is very important for you to understand. And so it will be a pleasure to share with you all this content, you know, so that you can get to learn what is in there, and then you can give us the feedback. Now, this content is going to be posted on our, on our YouTube channel. You can go there and read about and listen to what we have covered, and then we'll try to create smaller versions or smaller bits of this content, and post on our Instagram as well as on other social media handles, so that you can kind of take some moment and watch. But we hope this information that we have shared with you is going to be very helpful, especially to enable you to make informed decisions with regard to your potential investment in this particular bond. I think this is a very nice opportunity for you, especially if you are an amateur investor. I think starting off with bonds, they're quite investment class. I mean, they are quite assets. The asset class of lower risk in comparison to other securities in the market, and of course referring to stocks. So I think this would be your great opportunity to kind of test the market and see the benefit that you can reap from investing in this particular bond. So this brings us to an end. So thank you very much for having spent time with us from the very beginning. So we hope to hear your views and kind of get your comments with regard to this information memorandum, and let's help you to kind of understand what is in there, and hopefully you can use that information to make informed decisions to invest in this particular bond. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe or follow us on social media handles, and it will be a pleasure to serve you every other time. Thank you very much.